the Holy Bible is filled with lies.
Oh, so you're saying it's filled with lies, yet according to what the Quran is showing, Allah gave us a lie to believe he was crucified. So this idea that Jesus was crucified came from Allah
He saved Jesus. How is
by
it a lie?
making us think that he was crucified, right?
I mean, like later on, nobody has like carbon dated or
Brother,
nobody has original sources. You know what I mean?
Matthew and John, they were literally disciples of Jesus, and they wrote down what he taught.
They're not the disciples written in the Bible. They're not the same people of that time. You know what I mean?
How do you know that?
Because there's no proof, bro.
What-
Tell me if you can show
Okay.
me like Mark said this, like,
Look, okay, for example, you have in Matthew's gospel,
well, who wrote this book?
Matthew. Or I'm gonna show you this
No, but
particular
where
one.
did this particular book come from? You know what I mean?
This whole
The
collection.
whole collection. Where did it come from?
Well, these are different authors. The Bible is a
That's
bunch
what I'm
of
saying,
different
bro.
authors.
Like, where did this entire book come from? Who wrote it?
I'm telling you. So what the Bible is, it's a collection of writings from different prophets
Exactly,
and apostles.
That's the issue.
How's that an issue if it all lines up?
It doesn't.
Okay,
it's
so
not
what-
original. You know what I mean?
So tell me, like, what do you mean by like? Give me some details. What are you
So
saying?
who has the authority to write this book?
The prophets and the apostles of Jesus.
Okay, but who printed this book? Like, who printed it?
I mean, some businesses, I guess.
That's the
At first, they
problem,
didn't have. What do you mean? Who printed this? Like, this is a printed Quran. Does that mean that the Quran is false now?
The thing about the Quran, though, is that you'll find it perfect.
In what way?
Every Arabic Quran, you won't find a contradiction within them.
But we do, dude.
No, you don't, bro.
Have you heard of Hafs like
I'm talking
Warsh?
about the Arabic ones.
I know. Look,
Exactly.
Look, we have Arabic. This is called a Hafs Quran.
Uh-huh.
This is called a Warsh Quran.
Okay.
These are two different Arabic Qurans.
So pull up a contradiction within both of these.
Okay,
where
sure.
They were different themselves.
Okay, so you have I got you. So you have let's go to chapter number. Come on, let's look it down. Goodness, forgive me on my Arabic. Is this a wash? Okay, horse. Anthony, I need your help.
What?
Can you go to 3146 or the Katala Kutula example? Who are we?
You guys are Muslims, bro.
He looks like it.
You look like you
I look like they call me Abdul Latif. Abdul Latif is my name. Okay, look. So okay, here it is. So in this word, this is the word. It's katala.
Okay.
Okay, which means it says many of prophets fought with him
Okay.
and did not lose heart. Right.
Uh-huh.
This is the Warsh Quran.
Okay.
That's a different word here.
Uh-huh.
It's very similar, but the diacritical marks changed the word.
Okay.
This is kutila instead of katala. This means many prophets were killed
Okay.
and they did not lose heart. So this shows that this says that they were killed.
Uh-huh.
This one says that they just fought. They didn't die. They fought. Right?
People die when they fight?
Not all the time. And so, and the context here, like this is what Islamic scholars like Al-Tabari, he says this one would be incorrect. That says that they were killed because right after it says that they did not lose heart. So you can only not lose heart if you're alive to not lose heart.
All right.
You know, so that's what some of them say. Yeah, this is a small example, but there's others. You know what I'm saying? And this is Arabic. This isn't English. You know what I'm saying? So would you say that this like means that the Quran is untrustworthy now?
No.
So then that's not your problem then. If you have a Bible that has English versions that are slightly different,
Yeah.
it's not a big problem then.
Not really, bro. You
So-
got like
Okay.
way different problems, though. You know what I mean?
Like what?
Because you're talking about you have a Christian and you have a Catholic. So you would.
They have the
yourself
same.
be
They have
like,
the same.
Hey, bro, you're not a real Christian.
No, dude, okay,
bro, that's-
all right, how about
that's
this?
that's a culture,
Okay,
bro.
all
That's the
right,
thing.
let's go with this.
You know what I'm saying?
Because you're right. There are some Catholics, and then there's
And then
like some
and the thing
Protestants.
is that they have like
that
their
would-
own Bible. You know?
No.
Yeah, they do.
All right, so let's put this in perspective because we got to be consistent, okay?
All right.
I'm acknowledging what you're saying. There are differences. All right, you have Catholics, Orthodox, Protestants, different denominations within Christianity. You have this in Islam too. You have Sunnis and Shias.
Yes.
Sunnis and Shias, they talk through each other.
There's a clear description where it's like, if you're a Muslim in the Quran, it says you read the Quran, you practice the teachings of the Quran, and then you practice and you do the examples of the
Same thing the Bible says. There's a clear criteria of what a Christian is.
So like, you know, the Shias, for example, they diverted. You know, they don't.
They will say that you diverted.
They would say that things against Muhammad.
They'll say that you do that.
We could go back to we could go back to the Quran.
Boom, and that's exactly. So my problem, my thing is this: we got to be consistent.
One thing though.
Okay, go ahead.
The thing is that we have one Quran. You guys have 100
Brother,
Bibles.
I just showed you two different Qurans.
I mean,
There's more. Trust me.
What you're saying is that, like, okay, look, it's the clear difference, right?
Yeah.
It's follow the example that are in the Quran and follow the Prophet.
That's what the Bible says.
I know, but what I'm saying is that, like, all the Qurans are going to say that.
No, okay. So look, here's my thing.
So pull me up a Quran that says, follow.
No.
The example.
I want you to be consistent. That's all I want you to do. Okay.
Because that's what they are doing. Right?
This stuff you get in the Hadith, right? You get the caliphs that have come after Muhammad, that leadership that comes from the Hadiths, not the Quran. The Quran doesn't talk about anything like that, right? So without that, you won't have that.
Description of it.
Hold on,
in order for you to be
let me say what I was going to say here.
All right.
Because the only thing I want is to highlight the double standard you're showing. You're saying that, the Bible has differences, so therefore, it's false. I show you the Quran, and you don't have a problem with it.
It's saying that you have different, you have a Protestant Bible, you have a...
There's no such thing as a Protestant Bible.
Yeah, there is, bro.
No, there's not. That's not a so-called Protestant Bible. Guess what? In the Catholic Bible, they have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, just like in the King James.
One Bible has more books, the other one has less.
Okay, so what
has more? The Ethiopian Bible has this.
You're just talking about canons. That's not talking about different content.
So it still falls under the religion of Christianity.
But do you know what you're talking about here?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you talk about the Catholic Bible or the Ethiopian Bible, what is the more books? What is that?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like,
do you know
who has the authority to take away books? Who has the authority to reduce?
That's not answering the question.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's inconsistency.
That's not an inconsistency. You're talking about canon, so you don't know what that is talking about.
Christianity, right?
Do you
have all these books?
So what about in Islam when you have these different Qurans with different numbers of verses, different chapters? Ibn Masud had a different number of chapters than what you have in your Quran today. You have a bunch of Muslims back in the past that had different numbers of chapters. What do you do with that?
Do you have different books? Are they 114 chapters?
Some had 116, some had 112. What you have is 114.
Yeah, that's what I follow.
So, okay, that's what you follow.
Yeah.
But Ibn Masud would say that you were wrong. What do you do? And guess what? Ibn Masud is somebody that Muhammad pointed to. He said, you learned the Quran from him. It was him and three others.
Well, I would just say this, because my family's here.
Yeah.
But we only follow one God.
So do we.
We don't worship no human.
Okay.
We don't worship a human that died on a cross.
Okay.
We don't worship a human who is allegedly God. And
but you have Allah who has human descriptions like hands, feet, face.
I'm just saying, all right. That's all I'm saying.
This is a Muslim belief.
I believe in a creator who is beyond our imagination, who created everything.
Do you believe he could come in human form if he wanted to?
No. Why would he?
He couldn't?
Why would he want to be a human?
I'm not saying why would he. I'm saying can he if he wanted to?
Okay, so I know where you're going with this question, because then it's like, then God came down.
I'm just asking, could he?
He humbled himself.
Could he do it?
And he sacrificed himself.
Could he do it?
Why would he do that for us?
That's phase two. Because that's a good question.
Almighty allow himself to be killed?
My brother, that's a good question, but that's phase two. Could he do that if he wanted to in the first place?
Why would he even want to do that?
Love is the answer. Because he loved us enough, because we can't make ourselves right with God, but he can do it.
If the answer works for you, that's fine.
That's fine, but could he do it?
Yeah, dude, why would he do that?
No, you didn't. Dude, look, we're not asking why.
We're not in need of God.
It's a yes or no. Could he or not?
God doesn't need us.
I know. Exactly. Could he do it or not?
It doesn't matter.
It does, because you're using this as an example of why you reject Christianity.
So why?
But you're afraid to acknowledge, like, yes, he could. You're afraid to say yes.
He could do that.
Thank you.
But why? So Why? So God put himself lower than himself.
He put himself lower.
Put
He
himself
brought-
on the cross to die. That to me is like, why would I worship a God like that?
Well, you will worship a God that can demonstrate love to you. This is what God. This is what Jesus
God
says.
demonstrates love to me every day that I'm alive.
He doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
Okay. Watch this.
I don't control my heart.
Jesus says this.
I don't
He
control my
says,
feelings.
"There's no greater love than this, that someone dies, gives this life for his friend." That's the greatest love that Jesus says somebody can express.
Okay.
So you serve a God who can't even express that type of love. So human beings have better potential and greater expression of love than Allah does. But the God that Jesus talks about, he's able to come down, come in human flesh, and give his life for those he loves because we couldn't do it.
That's fine. If that works for you, bro, that's perfect. May God bless you with that. I would not worship a God that would come down to earth and allow himself to be killed by the creation that he created. You know what
But Jesus says this. He says, "No one takes my life from me. I lay it down of my own accord." So you got to be able to listen to what Jesus says.
So the thing is that is if Jesus even said that.
You don't know what he said or didn't.
Yeah, I mean, the information that we have about Jesus is so skewed, bro, and like that I wouldn't even.
What language did
surprised
Jesus
if he
speak?
didn't say that.
What language did Jesus speak?
He speak Aramaic.
How you know that? How do you know?
I've been doing research. You can Google.
But what research did you do? What tells you that?
Pull it up on Google.
Yeah, and what does Google use? What's the source that Google uses to say Jesus spoke Aramaic and Hebrew?
The collective engine sources that it finds.
What do those sources use? What's the primary source that tells them he spoke Hebrew and Aramaic?
A collection of whatever the scholars.
It's the Bible, brother. The Bible. So the same thing that you're doubting is where you're getting your information from about Jesus. Ain't that crazy?
The thing is that the first Bible, if I'm correct, right, was written in Greek. And Jesus.
No, the New Testament was written in Greek. Old Testament is written in Hebrew.
Exactly. Why would it be in Greek if Jesus wasn't even
Why would the Quran record Jesus' words in Arabic when Jesus didn't speak Arabic?
God has direct connection to Jesus.
Exactly. So the language doesn't even matter. So you bringing up the book being written in
Matters
Greek
at that time period.
So then why does it matter? So okay, it matters.
Still alive, bro. He's gonna come back.
It matters that it's written in Greek, and you say that Jesus never spoke it, even though you don't know that. But he didn't speak Arabic, but yet his words are recorded in the Quran.
Do you understand that?
Do you see the double standard?
You see? Do you believe that Jesus is with God right now?
Of course he is.
Exactly. So could he speak to Jesus?
He can speak any language he wants, right? So then Greek is not a problem.
When he was here, was he speaking Chinese then?
He was speaking Greek, Aramaic, and Hebrew. There were no Chinese people around.
There were no Chinese people around that time when he was
Not in Rome.
But would he be able to speak Chinese?
If he went there, if he was talking to people who spoke it, absolutely.
Learn how to speak Chinese on the spot?
He would be able to do it, of course. Is there an issue?
You're right.
No, if he could do it, he would have that ability.
Yeah.
He has that ability in himself.
That's crazy, man.
He created a bird from clay in the Quran.
I mean, by whose power? God,
His own.
Almighty power.
It doesn't say that. It says that he created a bird from clay.
I mean, everything that every prophet has done was just through the power of God.
But
Through their own power.
it doesn't say that about Jesus.
It says that about all the prophets. And that's
Except
what it's about.
Jesus, though. It don't say that about Jesus.
I mean, you can say whatever you want to say, bro, but at the end of the day, I don't worship a human being who came down here and died.
I don't worship a human being that came down either. I worship God who has the ability to take on human flesh and then give his life according to his human flesh for me. That's who I worship. God who
That's
can do
fine,
that.
bro. That's fine. We can leave in peace.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
And you can believe what you want to believe in.
Yeah. Have you ever read the gospel?
I read all of them.
You've read the gospel?
I read the gospel, but at the end of the day,
I don't believe it. I don't believe you read the gospel,
the
man.
thing is that at the end of the day, the Christian belief is not for me.
You don't know that.
I do know that.
If it was true, would you believe it?
The thing is, bro, I used to read the Bible.
If it was true, would you believe it?
I know it's not true.
No, I'm saying if.
It's not true. That's the thing.
Brother, if you're saying that you're as open-minded as you are and you appeal to truth,
Bro, I
then
already read it.
That would be
I
read
already-
it?
Look, this is your criteria, right? You believe in Jesus and you go to heaven. You believe in Jesus. Jesus
How?
came down.
What does believing in Jesus mean in Christian paradigm?
Hold on. Let me just finish the point, all right? You believe in Jesus. He died on the cross.
You're trying to tell me what I believe, but you don't know how to break it down.
You know, you believe all these things about Jesus.
What things?
You believe that God came down in a human form and sacrificed himself for love. That concept to me is like, It just doesn't work in my brain.
That doesn't mean it's not true. I can say the same thing that this religion that you know, after 600 years, Allah allowed people to believe that Jesus, the Messiah, was crucified. Waited 600 years later to come and say, "Hey guys, actually, it was made to look like it. It really wasn't him. It was made to look like it." So 600 years, Allah allowed this to build up and create Christianity, and a whole bunch of millions of people are going to go to hell because they believe in the crucifixion. That doesn't make sense to me.
Not really. It's out of their control whether it is. God is all merciful. So if someone lied to you about something and you didn't know you were being lied to,
But Allah's the one who did that. Allah's the one who. Look,
everyone has look. If God comes in and intervenes in your life, then this test of life is void.
what if he intervenes with the deception?
You're taking a test, and the teacher comes in. Oh, hey, you know what? You have the answer test. You have these answers wrong. Switch it up.
What if he intervenes with the deception? He makes you believe something that's not true, and then punishes you for believing
So
that.
you know what Allah means? You know what that translation for that is?
What does that have to do with the question I just asked?
Because you're saying God, bro.
Yes, no, I'm saying
Allah is
Allah's
God.
Yeah, the
I'm
Allah.
saying God.
So the God of the Quran specifically, the God of Islam.
God is.
What if he intervenes with a deception and then punishes you for believing the deception he gave you in the first place?
You don't know that.
What do you mean I don't know that?
You don't know
The
that.
Quran says that
Have
they
you been,
neither it says they neither killed him nor crucified him, but it was made to appear so. Who made it appear that Jesus was crucified?
So here's the thing. Obviously the people who wanted to crucify him, they wanted him dead.
Right? So they won't make it look like he did it. They'll do it. They thought that they did it.
That's fine. They could believe that.
So who made it look like they did it?
So the concept is that God saved Jesus from being harmed.
I know. Who made it look like he was crucified? Because it says it was made to appear so. It looked like he was. Who made it look like?
And the difference of, so that's the scenario, right? They're trying to crucify him.
Yeah.
God saves Jesus, so it appears that he was crucified.
So Allah made it look like Jesus was crucified when instead he said, right, okay, good. So not only did he trick the people who tried to kill Jesus, but he also tricked the people who believed in Jesus, because they all thought he was crucified, and then went around spreading, hey, Jesus was crucified. And then when they saw Jesus again, they thought he rose from the dead. And so Allah let this build up and spread for 600 years.
When did it say that Jesus came back in the Quran? That doesn't say that, bro.
Okay, so then, but this is what we have in history.
Exactly.
But what we have, what we have,
alive.
no, you're missing it. What we have in history,
I'm not missing it,
okay,
because the Quran never says Jesus
where did
came
it?
back.
Okay, then, so where did it come from that Jesus was risen again? Where did that come from? Because that was a saying before Quran.
The book, the Holy Bible is filled with lies.
Oh, so you're saying it's filled with lies? Yet, according to what the Quran is showing, Allah gave us a lie to believe he was crucified. So this idea that Jesus was crucified came from Allah.
He saved Jesus. How is
By
it a lie?
making us think that he was crucified, right?
I mean, he saved Jesus. That's
Right.
the point.
He saved Jesus
Those people wanted to kill.
by making it look like he was crucified. Right?
You understand he was saved?
I understand that. Look.
Okay.
Look, I'm gonna break it down. Allah saved Jesus
So those
making it look like he was crucified, right?
those evil people, they wanted Jesus.
Not just the evil people, the people, his mother, his believers, they all thought he was crucified because Allah made it look like it was.
Okay.
So then Allah gave this trick to not just disbelievers, but he tricked believers as well. So these believers who are innocent are tricked by Allah thinking he was crucified, believe he was crucified, and Allah waits 600 years later to clear the air.
That's fine.
How does that make sense?
Look, if you were lied to about that, you were lied to about that.
By Allah. Allah's the one who lied about it.
Bro, those people have been lying about
Not the believers.
why did Jesus come down?
So this will clear this up.
Yes. Why did he come down?
Yeah.
The Jews at that time
Can I
were
tell you?
already spreading corruption.
You're right. This is why Jesus came down. He says it in Mark chapter 10, verse 45. He says, "For this reason I came to not to be served, but to serve, and to give my life as a ransom for many." So he literally said his mission is to come to give his life.
Allegedly.
No, that's what he says.
Not really, bro. That's kind of, And then you have to consider which Bible says that.
All of
Bible
them.
doesn't.
Every last one. Everything in Mark chapter 10, verse 45. Any book of Mark that you pick up, chapter 10, verse 45 says the same thing. There's no difference anywhere.
But at the end of the day, bro, you can worship.
I worship God.
Your God who died on the cross. I'm gonna worship my God.
And rose again in authority. He's not all powerful.
Yeah.
He has to lie to save Jesus, and then he can't have a son without a mate.
Lie about saving Jesus. He saved him.
No,
He's saying if he lied about saving Jesus, that would mean that Jesus died.
yeah, he did die.
He didn't die.
So the Quran says that they neither killed him nor did they crucify him, but it was made to appear so. So the lie is that he made it look like Jesus was crucified when he wasn't. So that's the lie.
It's not a lie
How's that not a lie?
because he's saving Jesus.
Is it deceitful?
Huh?
Is it deceitful?
It's not deceitful. How, bro? So
To deceive
Let's
is
say you're on
to
the
bring
cross,
something
right?
that's false.
let's say you're on the cross.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do my best to save you.
Yep.
And I found someone who looks just exactly like you.
Yeah. So somebody else
Clone.
gets punished and killed for
It
Jesus.
could be someone who deserves it. Someone who's trying to put you under the boat.
The Quran doesn't say none of that.
Yeah, we believe that the person who was replaced with Jesus, the one that was actually crucified, was the one who was wanting to harm Jesus.
Which is who?
I threw him under the bus. We don't know who, but
You don't know who. So where do you get this from? That it was somebody that took Jesus under the bus that was crucified in this place. Where do you get that from? The Quran don't say that.
I heard it from somewhere. That's what we believe, you know? Some people say Judas.
That don't make no sense. So where do you get this Judas name from? Where do you get that from?
That's what we believe. It may have been Judas.
But where do they get this from?
I would have to bring up my sources. But
No, what I'm saying is the people who come up with this story, this conjecture that Judas replaced Jesus, where do they even get this idea of a Judas character?
that's a good point.
You know the answer to that.
What?
The Bible.
Yeah, we can keep on. Hey, all right.
Take care, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We are going to be brothers when the time that Jesus comes back and clears everything up.
Read the gospel, man. Just read it again.
Coming, so don't worry, bro.
Try it again. Try the gospel again. Just try it
Bro,
again.
I can't.
You can.
No, bro. I already explained it to you. A man who died on the cross, who was allegedly God. Like, I don't believe that.
I
bro.
think that you have a bias against it,
I don't have a
and you're
bias
not willing to deal with
against
it.
Worship someone who died on a cross. It's like worshiping some.
Worship
like,
somebody who
elephant.
deceives mankind, and also worship someone who can't have a son without a mate. This is the God you're serving.
The thing is that there's no. That's the difference. We believe in an Almighty God.
No, you don't.
He doesn't need anything.
So then, why did he have to lie to save
Everything needs him.
Jesus?
Everything needs.
Why did he have to lie to save Jesus?
You don't understand, bro.
I know I don't. That's what I'm asking. I don't understand it.
He didn't lie about saving Jesus.
He lied to save
He
Jesus.
saved Jesus.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I hear
at
you.
the end of the day, bro, we're all brothers. We're all human. I'm confident on the day of judgment. You know, and it's coming. None of us can avoid that.